Good morning. I would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we are presently gathered and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So welcome to the 277th Special Council meeting of the 20th of June 2022. I declare this meeting open at 10 a.m. I would like to advise meeting attendees that this meeting is being webcasted and audio recorded. This special council meeting has been called for the formal adoption of the operational plan 2022-2023 and the 2022-23 budget. Councillors, a motion is now displaying on the screen to give approval for the members of the media to video and audio record the proceedings of today's meeting. Please note there should the meeting move into a closed session, members of the public and media will be asked to leave the public gallery until such time the meeting resumes in public session. Is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Bradley seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No councillors wish to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. I now go to attendances and leave of absence. I note that we have received a leave of absence request for Councillor Hieremeyer due to his attendance at the 2022 National General Assembly as Logan City Council's representative to the Australian Local Government Association. Is there a further leave of absence to consider? No, there's not. I now move a motion that Councillor Hieremeyer be granted a leave of absence in accordance with section 5.3c brackets 3 of the Local Government Act and Committee Meeting Code. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bradley has seconded the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No councillors wish to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. I'll now go to the operational plan. I now refer to the first item on the agenda, item 4.1. I now invite Chief Executive Officer Mr Darren Scott to join the discussions. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? Conflict of interest.
Mr Mayor, I don't have a conflict of interest, but I wish to ask for an amendment, please.
You wish to ask for? An
amendment.
Amendment?
To the operational plan.
Okay, we'll get to that. Okay, so any councillors have a conflict of interest? No. Okay. Okay, I note that item 4.1 is confidential. I note that it is considered necessary to take the discussion of this report into a closed session as a confidential attachment contains information in relation to Council's operational plan 2022-2023. Before I ask councillors to move into, well, no, what I'll do is I will ask, do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this item? Councillor Bradley.
Mr Mayor, I would like to ask for amendment, and I don't know if I need to go into confidential to do so. As you know, Springwood is one of our city's commercial hubs, and I would like to see Springwood Town Square, which was meant to be delivered in 2020, to be part of the KPIs for the operational plan, and the Springwood Community Hub as well.
Okay. I'll now refer to the CEO to address that issue.
Through you, Mr Mayor, there's a couple of things happening in the operational plan which address Springwood. One is in relation to the town square in particular is the Logan 2025 plan activities. So in the coming year there'll be workshops with council around the planning scheme of 2025 and what's contained within it. One of which will be designation of the Springwood Town Centre, so the designation of that. As the council would know, there's a number of activities also running at this point in time associated with the purchase of land in Springwood, associated with the town square, and that's ongoing. Council has a number of parcels which they've acquired at this stage, but still require additional parcels to be purchased on market before our town square could be actually physically delivered.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. As the EDNS manager heard at my recent mobile office, David Radich, there definitely is a desire from the community to have this town square to actually happen and for Springwood to be a focus. As you know, in 2009, our planning scheme was amended to include Springwood as a major focus. In 2016, we had a Springwood summit, and very little has happened since then from council, apart from the $2.5 million shared pathways, whereas Beenleigh has been a major focus, our other commercial hub, and they're both bookends of our city, of our major thoroughfare through our city. So I definitely do want some attachment to KPIs, because there just doesn't seem to be a focus on delivery.
Okay. That issue is being addressed because we are, as you know, there is a report of council that we agreed to, and that action is continuing. We do have the 2025 plan to move ahead with this. What I will ask now is, I think the discussion's finished, whether or not we want to go into confidential or not. Councillor Bradley, do you still want to go into confidential?
If that resolves the issue, yes.
Well, I don't know whether that's going to resolve the issue, because I don't know how my councillors feel on this issue. So do you wish to move that you go into confidential?
I'll test the waters.
Sorry?
Yes, I'll test
You
the waters.
still want to go into confidential?
Yes, I'll test the waters.
Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder to the motion? The motion fails. The motion, which means we will not be going into confidential. So now, Mr. CEO, do you wish to speak to the operational plan?
You had a question there as well, Mr. Mayor.
No.
Okay.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the operational plan and the adoption of an operational plan is a requirement of the Local Government Act on an annual basis. So the operational plan translates the key elements of the corporate plan into an annual plan for delivery. It reflects predominantly the decisions of the council in the budget and the projects within there, in which case there's 73 projects proposed in this year's operational plan. The project represents the key activities adopted within the budget process, which, as you know, you've done over the last 4 months since March. So a total of 73 projects are proposed for inclusion in the operational plan. It also sets out the annual performance plans for council's commercialised business units and the policies and frameworks for managing this council's operational risks and managing our assets, which you'll find on page 34. So that addresses what's proposed in the operational plan. They are, in effect, the highlights, if you like, the highlights package of the budget that's been adopted, and the continuation of activities which are a part of previous council decisions. Mr. Mayor. Thank you,
Mr. Scott. I now open the report for discussion to councillors, realising that we're not in confidential. This will be able to give you an opportunity to discuss any of the items that you don't believe is in confidential. None? Okay. Thank you, councillors. Do I have a mover for the motion? Thank you. Councillor Ravens moved the motion. I have a seconder of the motion. Councillor Murphy, seconder of the motion. Do any councillors wish to speak to the motion? No councillors wish to speak to the motion. I will now put the matter to the floor to vote for the operational plan. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Now go to the budget. I now refer to item 4.2 on the agenda. Before we open discussion on this item, do any councillors have a conflict of interest? I don't believe so. I note that item 4.2 is confidential. I note that it is considered necessary to take the discussion of this report into a closed session, as the confidential attachment contains information in relation to the local government's budget. Do any councillors wish to move into closed session for this? None being so, I now refer to the Chief Executive Officer to speak to the 2022-23 budget. Mr Scott, you may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Local Government Act requires the Council to adopt an annual budget and revenue statement, as well as make a range of consequential decisions, as set out in the 4 pages of recommendations that you see before you. This budget has been developed over many months, starting in March of this year, and I'd like to commend the work of the Council officers, in particular Robert Strachan and all of the ELT, as well as Caroline Bugg and her dedicated financial team. I'd also like to thank the Mayor and the Council for all of the engagement throughout the budget process. It's an enormous task to develop a budget, and it takes a particularly long time, but it's important because it affects all of our community. And so we greatly appreciate the approach, that is the administration, greatly appreciates the approach that Council and the Mayor has taken towards this year's budget process. We've tried to provide you with as much information as possible to make your important decisions, and we appreciate the constructive manner in which you've gone about the discussion and the debate. Back to you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Scott. I'll now open the report to discussion to all councillors. Do any councillors wish to speak to the report, noting that we are not in confidential? Councillor Lane.
Sorry, Mr Mayor. I just wasn't sure whether or not this was the time for us to speak to the budget or whether it was after.
I intend to give all councillors the opportunity to speak after we've delivered the budget.
Thank you.
There being none, do I have a mover for the report's motion? Councillor Wilcox has moved the motion. Do I have a second to the motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. So now I'll get up and make a speech, and then Councillor Wilcox will follow me. As Mayor of this great city, I am proud to be here today as we adopt the 2022-23 budget. Our city is in a strong financial position. Today's record budget is just over $1 billion and is about building on today for a brighter tomorrow. The City of Logan is a city that is active, green, smart, safe and growing. There are currently 348,000 people who proudly call Logan home. Within 15 years, that number will soar to 500,000. The budget has a citywide benefits and is focused on making Logan a fantastic place to live, work and raise a family. As a council, we are focused on the big picture. This budget is not about band-aid solutions. The plans we put in place now are the foundations to achieve our vision for future generations. Sporting facilities, the environment, innovation and infrastructure will benefit from the commitments we have adopted today. Last year, we set the wheels in motion to support the needs of our communities by committing $20 million a year to build vital community infrastructure. Libraries, pools, community centres and performing arts spaces are just some of the facilities you will see delivered out of this fund over the next decade. Today, we continue building towards our future with a commitment of $38 million over 5 years for local sporting facilities. The Sport and Recreation Facilities program will focus on grassroots sport. I'm hugely passionate about this commitment. It will mean new or upgraded clubhouses, changing rooms, toilets, car parks, fields and courts for many dedicated sporting clubs in this city. Our community and sporting organisations are part of our city's fabric. They play a vital role in building connections and making our city a fun, and healthy place to live. We want to deliver facilities and programs that make us competitive and proud. On another topic, being green isn't easy. However, we remain committed and on track to be a carbon neutral council by the end of this year. Our residents have always been passionate about recycling, reducing our carbon footprint and protecting the natural environment. This budget will see the installation of solar panels on 3 additional council-owned sites, adding to the 2.5 megawatts of solar capacity already in operation. We have also committed $9 million towards building an advanced recycling facility at Browns Plains in partnership with Ipswich and Redland councils. To support continued population growth in this city, we are attracting quality development with private investment into new health facilities and award-winning housing estates. We are also investing in vital infrastructure, road upgrades, and a citywide beautification program that will encourage others to invest here. While there is plenty to be proud about, this budget has not been without its challenges. Like all businesses, we too are feeling downward pressure from rising costs and inflation. We are still managing the fallout from the recent floods with a damage of $4 million and counting. We have a long 18 months ahead to repair our road network and our parks and everything else. The cost of bitumen, concrete and steel continues to soar, but we cannot afford to put the brakes on projects that our residents and businesses expect to be delivered. This budget will see controlled spending across priority projects that will benefit the community and ensure value for money from council. A bottom line rate increase of 2.49% will add $1.35 a week or $70 a year for most residential ratepayers. This is well below the Brisbane CPI of 6% in the March quarter. The 2022-23 budget will set up the city for not just today, but for generations to come. I would like to take the opportunity to thank my fellow councillors and council staff for working diligently to bring down another responsible budget for our community. We are indeed building on today for a brighter tomorrow. I now ask the Chair to come present.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good morning, everyone, and apologies for my voice. Today, I'm proud to be announcing the 2022-2023 budget for Logan City. I would like to start by thanking my fellow councillors, the council staff who have worked hard behind the scenes for their diligence, support and advice for this year's budget. And thank you to those of you who are here in the gallery today. A huge thank you to Councillor Karen Murphy as my Deputy Chair, Director of Corporate Governance, Mr. Robert Strachan, Manager of Finance, Caroline Bugg, who have been with me every step of the way through all the meetings, briefings and behind the scenes to deliver the budget today. This is Council's second billion-dollar budget, $1,014 million to be exact. And there is a focus across the city on investment to be active, green, smart, safe and growing. We are investing in grassroots sport, the environment, innovation and support for youth programs, more safety cameras, and of course a commitment to a safer roads network. And something I'm particularly excited about and advocated for is more drainage projects. The City of Logan is active. Council will invest $38 million over the next 5 years for grassroots sports facilities and $6.34 million into the first 3 stages of Alexander Clark Park in Logan Home. The City of Logan is green. We have a goal to be carbon neutral by the end of the year, and will expand on our already impressive program to harvest solar energy. We are investing $9 million into the Browns Plains recycling facility to create a regional recycling facility. We have introduced a new program to recycle mattresses and polystyrene so that these don't end up in our landfill. And we have a proactive strategy for the illegal dumping task force team. The City of Logan is smart. We will make significant investment to upgrade the council IT systems so that we can provide a more efficient customer service and service delivery for our residents. A new value for money program will ensure that council services are delivered cost effectively. And the Catapult Youth program will continue for another 2 years in our local schools. The City of Logan is safe. We are expanding and upgrading Australia's largest safety camera network. We are investing in more solar-powered speed advisory signs to keep our motorists safe. And to keep our young ones safe, we are investing in a safe parking campaign that will be rolled out across our schools. The City of Logan is growing. We will make a $241 million investment in roads and drainage infrastructure across the city. We are spending $2.4 million over 2 years on city beautification projects. That equates to $200,000 per division. There is $8.8 million for wastewater network renewal and improvement projects. And we are extending the trial of our smart lighting technology around the city. All of this will be delivered despite costs increasing. Council will continue to deliver services to the community. Sorry. The Brisbane CPI increased 6% in the last year, and everyone is feeling the impacts of the costs of living, including council, with increases in fuel, cost of materials, skill shortages, and supply chain issues. Council also continues to seek alternative funding sources wherever possible, including grants from other levels of government, so we can keep rate rises to a minimum. So sorry. We are again delivering modest increases in rates without compromising on services that council provides. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I might get Councillor Murphy to finish this. I'm so sorry.
We are again delivering modest increases in rates without compromising on service that the council provides. Following on from what the Mayor has already announced with his highlights, here are some of the key numbers from this year's budget. We will continue to offer a 5% discount for prompt payments. There will be no increase to council components of water sewerage charges. There is a $7 increase to the annual environmental levy. There is a 2.5% increase to community service charges. Council is borrowing $69 million for the delivery of our major projects, and we will continue to support pensioners with a 4.29% rate remission. The City of Logan is active, green, smart, safe, and growing. We must continue to invest in the areas that will support the needs of the residents, while creating real opportunities for families to live, work, and prosper. This budget delivers and achieves that, while ensuring Council's financial position remains sound. We have made important decisions now for the City of Logan's future. We are working together across the City of Logan with this budget to enhance our cities for decades to come. We are building today a brighter tomorrow for the City of Logan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Wilcox, and also Councillor Murphy, for your discussion of today's budget. Do any councillors wish to speak? So I'll give you the opportunity. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at Division 1 and we'll work our way around. So, Councillor Bradley.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Building today for a brighter tomorrow. That's a wonderful theme. Where people can live, work and prosper. I wish to highlight the City Beautification project specifically for Fitzgerald Avenue, which is in Springwood. So divisional funding has gone into this project for many years, even prior to this term, and we're waiting on an announcement from another tier of government, so we can't consult with the community fully until that announcement has been made. And I'm very excited to go out publicly and get the feedback from the community, what they would like in Fitzgerald Avenue, Springwood. It needs TLC. It was revamped probably in the early 2000s, and if you go down Fitzgerald Avenue now, it looks very outdated. Springwood is a commercial hub for our city, and to attract potential new businesses, residents to our city, this money will be greatly appreciated. It's a gateway to our city. Beenleigh and Springwood are the bookends of our city. For visitors from the north, main thoroughfare through our city, the first impression they have of our city. So we don't want to be another blink as people drive past. We want to attract people to our city. And that's the intention. This money will be definitely appreciated. And we're getting a lot of investment already with the Springwood Health Hub going up, which will be very noticeable from the M1 by now. And hopefully we'll have more investment. I know from talking to residents recently at my last mobile office, there's a lot of investors going around door knocking, wanting to buy properties, which is really increasing the property values in the area, something like 30% in the last year. So, as I said previously, I feel there's a bit of a stalemate with what's happening internally with the Springwood Town Square and the Springwood Community Hub, and I do hope the CEO takes on board my feedback about wanting KPIs attached to that, and I know we will be meeting shortly to discuss that, but my focus definitely in this term will be on Springwood, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bradley. Councillor Lane.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. Overall, the budget is fair, and the rebates put in place to soften the impact on our aged, our disabled and our veteran community and homeowners is more than adequate. The budget is solid and it delivers on the city's objectives as outlined in the operational plan that we just passed. We all know that there are many challenges for Council in funding the modernisation of local infrastructure across our emerging areas. Many of these problems go back to the amalgamation, but with rapid population growth continuing to be projected for this corridor, there are challenges that we need to face and fund into the future, and I believe that Council's budget has done exactly that. From roads to bridges to libraries to swimming pools and parks, we owe those in emerging areas the same level of service that we enjoy in the established areas of Logan. But that comes at a huge price. And while these areas are developing, this means many of the established areas of the city are left to cover the costs for future residents that aren't yet living here. That is the burden that those in the old Logan face. As a councillor, I must always ensure that every cent of our ratepayers' money is being invested wisely and be honest with our community about where I believe we can do better. There is an economic challenge coming our way and hard decisions are going to be made by Council in the future when it comes to services and expectations. When downturns from domestic and global woes catch up with us and when developments in our emerging areas slow down, my concerns relate to how we look at funding requests that come before us and the expectation that my division has for me to represent their best interests at all times, to spend their money wisely and to set realistic and affordable goals for the future. I want residents to know that councillors stand and challenge each other for better outcomes on ideas, issues and proposals. We don't always agree on a path forward, but democracy is very much in play when we consider budget decisions. There are a number of instances in this year's budget where I didn't support proposed expenditure requests by council staff. I didn't see the new funding as essential to the running of council services, but nonetheless they got up because that's how democracy works. At a time where household budgets are stretched, cost of living is going up and families are fighting to make ends meet, we must hold ourselves to a higher standard on what passes the public interest test. I'll give you some examples of my concerns, Mr Mayor. They include the budget allocated to employ an officer so that when a resident or business calls up to order a new waste, recycle or green bin, its processing time may be reduced from 3 to 5 days down to 1 to 2. Now, the cost of employing that officer is more than a full-time employee of Coles gets a year, and it may reduce the time that you get a bin. Another line item was a request for an allocation of a coordinator for the Logan Entertainment Centre, a centre that has been there for more than a decade, a centre that had a coordinator or manager on its very first day of operations, but over time that position has amalgamated and gone into the branch. The branch has come forward asking for a new coordinator for that centre. We already had one. They had the funds to approve it, they just needed us to say yes, but that is a cost of budget. Another issue that I have concerns with, Mr Mayor, and I've just lost my place, is we approved the full-time employment of more than 50 people this year. That's a great outcome for people looking for work in our city. We're a great employer. My issue is not with the employment per se, it's the number of those jobs that were listed at no cost to the budget against line items. I challenge the statement no cost to the budget. It's disingenuous and misleading. Any time that we choose to spend money that comes from our ratepayers is always at a cost to the budget. I challenge the idea that a branch entity that is making a profit from services can fund new positions at no cost to the budget. If branches have additional money in the kitty, that's called surplus funds. And if return to general revenue can become savings to council and reduce the pressure on us to raise rates for residents. It's money to set aside for rainy day or to pay down debt. Using these funds to employ people full-time or to convert temporary staff into full-time positions does come at a cost to ratepayers, and to say different is being tricky. My colleagues might be asking why I'm raising this today. It's really simple. I represent a division where 47% of the people are owner-occupiers. Those people may be watching their pennies week after week to pay off their first home and associated costs of insurance and rates and other things. I was like them once, and I made a pact to pay $100 each fortnight against my rates to negate bill shock. Last month I had to raise that amount to $150 per fortnight because it no longer covered the total cost of rates excluding water. Now I can afford to increase that amount, but people in my division potentially can't. 53% of my division's housing are rental properties made up of both private investors and Queensland housing tenants. Division 2 is carrying much of the load when it comes to extra charges on their non-owner occupied properties. Some of these 53% of owners may be able to absorb rate increases or write them off in their taxes through negative gearing and other measures, but many are mum and dad investors living off the rent as positive income. They pay a price for that through lower pension rates from Centrelink and reduced discounts from council. They most likely purchased at the low end of the market, and they were hoping that the city would stay small. Once upon a time our city was small. But the city didn't stay small. It's growing and the costs are rising to meet the needs of fast developing Western Corridor and the renewal of some very old assets. Today we approved the operational plan for Logan. It sets out the future agenda for council to fulfil in terms of infrastructure, programs and community support. What it doesn't do is give a blank cheque to council to spend money without thinking about impacting residents. I want to be able to look at my residents in the eye and guarantee I've safeguarded their interests and the interests of this city as a whole to the best of my ability. Today's budget, the 2.49% increase, does just that, and I thank the City Governance Chair for her hard work on this budget, and I support it wholly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Russell. Councillor Kransky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, I'd just like to commend you on your approach to the budget and in making sure that all councillors had the opportunity to have their voices heard through the budget process, and also for allowing councillors the opportunity to speak in this venue on this day that may not have necessarily occurred in the past. So I value that. I've just got one thing that I'd like to highlight today, and that is that Council's also committed funding toward the proposed Bethania to Logan Village Rail Trail, and that project will provide an important cycling, walking connection between the communities. The project is, of course, dependent on Queensland Government funding, but does follow on from the great success which is the Logan Village to Yarrabilba section of the trail, which opened last year. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to the councillors for getting behind this great project, and I will be writing to residents of Palm Lake after budget today to provide them with an update on what the current status is of that project. But in conclusion, I just want to say many exciting projects coming out of this budget, and I'm particularly excited as Chair, wearing my other hat, for the Sport and Recreation Facilities Program budget, which is coming up. And I know it'll take a little bit of time to get the wheels moving on that one, but I know a number of councillors will be excited to see some upgrades to their facilities. So thank you, Mr Mayor, thank you, councillors, for your hard work, and of course the officers and the CEO, thank you for your delivery of this budget also. It's much appreciated.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for the opportunity to speak, and I want to start by saying what a difference 4 years makes. Cast your mind back to 2018 and just compare the culture and the environment that we're working in. A fantastic united council working hard on this budget to not only halve the rate increase compared to CPI this quarter, halve it. So normally the goal of a council is to be 0.1% below CPI. We're half of CPI. That's an incredible outcome, and that required some discipline from both the council officers, led by the new CEO, Darren Scott. Great work, mate. Love the budget process, very well done, but also by councillors in the room who had to make the tough decisions about what would be supported and what wouldn't. And as Councillor Lane said, that involves debate. That involves robust debate, and we don't always agree on everything. But what we do agree on is we want the best for the city, and that's what we've achieved today, Mr Mayor. So thank you for your hard work and diligence. Also to Councillor Wilcox, the Deputy Mayor, and in her capacity as Governance Chair, she's done an excellent job, despite battling with what we would nearly call man flu, but it's not quite there. And I just wanted to say thank you to all my colleagues for working so hard on this and taking it so seriously, and for being able to come out today, stand together and vote for this budget as one. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. And the budget that Councillor Raven was referring to was the 17-18 budget, which we weren't entitled to participate, only presented with a budget and any questions after that. So, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to echo Councillor Raven's sentiments, thank my colleagues for all the hard work that we've put together towards this budget, and the great leadership that's been shown from the Mayor and from our new Deputy Mayor as well. You've really held us together. The debate that we had, it was amazing. There was a lot on the table. I'd also like to thank the CEO for your guidance in some of those things that were raised as well. And I think it's really important that we are hitting our goals, especially hitting some of my own personal goals towards making the areas of Logan safer, more secure, and a healthier environment for everyone. And I think we're on track to do that. I think we're one of the most environmentally conscious councils in Australia, and I'm very proud about that. And I'd like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Stamp.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, I'd like to thank everyone involved in bringing this budget together. The highlights of the budget for me this year has to be the Value for Money program, which will look at ways we can do things more efficiently as a council. This is something which I've been wanting to happen since I was elected, and I'm very excited to see where we go with this program. And just a couple of items for Division 10. The budget includes an upgrade of Alexander Clark Park, stages 1 to 3, which is very exciting for the community, and I can't wait to get into the design phase of that project. And obviously the beautification of our city, which will enable landscaping in areas such as Beenleigh Redland Bay Road, which is an area which has been well overdue as well. So thank you to everyone involved.
I will just apologise for my coughing fit. I practiced this morning and I did not cough, and it was the first time I got through without coughing. Apologies. But I just did want to thank everyone, and thanks Councillor Murphy for stepping in for me just then. We've delivered a responsible budget for the City of Logan, and we've worked together across the City of Logan with this budget. So thank you to everyone once again, and apologies again for my coughing fit.
Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd like to thank the Mayor and the councillors for working together and the staff for the last 6 months to bring this budget together. I believe that we have delivered a very responsible and forward-thinking budget. We have addressed both the community and the business of council's need for some long-term plans. Our sporting facilities allocation will see much needed investment in the city and especially in Division 12, which has a large amount of facilities. This has all been done with a surplus and being mindful of global finances and our Logan residents. Thank you again for the many hours of work we have all done together. I would especially like to thank Councillor Wilcox for leading the governance chair and bringing this budget forward. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. There being no further items on today's agenda, I now kindly ask that everyone remain seated for the viewing of a short video. I apologise for the short video. This video will highlight Council's vision for our community and the benefits of the newly adopted 2022-23 budget.
The City of Logan is a proud grassroots community filled with mavericks, makers and innovators. We love our neighbourhoods, protect our environment and support local business. Our culture, heritage and diversity are strong. Logan City Council's annual budget is building on today for a brighter tomorrow. We're investing millions of dollars into essential services and programs that continue to support and nurture the growth of our city. We're doing special things right across the city, such as opening Australia's first biochar facility that uses state-of-the-art technology to turn sewage into energy and fertiliser. Our growing green canopy is award-winning. Council's one of the largest harvesters of solar energy in Logan, and we recently opened the spectacular Kingston Butter Factory Cultural Precinct. To build on this and other successes, this year's $1 billion budget allocates funding to enhance our city for decades to come.
The City of Logan is a special place, and Council is committed to building on today for a brighter tomorrow. As our population grows and more people and businesses discover what our growing city has to offer, we are proudly delivering services and programs for our city's future generations. Our city is forward-thinking and ambitious. We are not afraid to chase greatness. This budget has citywide benefits and is once again focused on making Logan a fantastic place to live, work and raise a family. Our Logan magazine, delivered to all households in the City of Logan, will feature more about the projects funded in this year's budget. Thank you. I apologise for I was a bit sick that day. As this video has been displayed to the meeting, we are now required to table this video. Is there a mover for motion to table the video? Thank you. I'll have so Councillor Wilcox has moved. Councillor Murphy is second. I'll put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried. Do any councillors wish to record anything against that? No. Okay. So, councillors, that is the end of the meeting. I now declare the special meeting closed at 10:44 a.m. Thank you.